Move right now, in recent weeks here in the Sportsman division. The McDonald's Restaurants, Craig and Landreth Cars, and Foley Automotive racing Chevy Camaro of Chuck Winders. On back, it'll be car number 53, tonight's fastest qualifier. Is Joe Williamson Jr. in the Tumbleweed Racing Camaro, and car number 91 in the Right Way Grinding Saw and Tool Racing Camaro, Marshall Jaggers. It's the first half of the field now as they roll down into turns 3 and 4. Green flag's out and we're racing. Down the front straightaway, they complete lap number 1 and move off into turns 1 and 2. Car number 47 out front, that's Chuck Barnes. And car number 47, the number 38 of Scott Toohey rides at second. Going third, it's Darrell Hadley in car number 12. Joe Lewis in car number 44 goes fourth on the field. At fifth, Gary Ott not handling so well into the turns 1 and 2, and Chuck Winders gets around on the outside. Moving down into turns 3 and 4, it's still Gary Ott in the number 33 and the number 6 spot right now as George Koch looks to the inside, Charlie Pierce to the outside, and they wheel off into turns 1 and 2. Marshall Jaggers trying to find some racing room in there with Joe Williamson Jr. and Charlie Pierce in car number 7 as they come out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. Some great racing just outside the top 5 right now as they move into turns 1 and 2. George Koch going 6th on the field at 7th now. Tonight's fastest qualifier, Joe Williamson Jr. Gary Ott in the number 33 falling into place along with the number 91 of Marshall Jaggers and the number 7 of Charlie Pierce as they all race together now into turns 1 and 2. Kevin Gapehart in car number 07 now works his way around Jaggers in the middle of the back straightaway as they pull into turns 3 and 4. They continue to circle this Louisville Motor Speedway after 6 laps of competition. Out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. The number 47 of Chuck Barnes is your leader. Running at second, it's Scott Toohey in car number 38 and Darrell Hadley in car number 12. Last week's feature event winner and winner of the Shoney's Derby City 100, Chuck Winders goes 4th on the field. Joe Lewis rounds out the top 5 as they work out of turn 4. Coming around to complete lap number 9 this time around, and it's Chuck Barnes, a 2-time feature event winner in the 1991 racing season, driving a borrowed race car tonight. Moving down into turns 3 and 4, but how much longer will Scott Toohey stay in the number 2 place? Down the front straightaway and back into turns 1 and 2. The number 12 of Darrell Hadley having an excellent run right now, but he's going to be racing with the best in the business right now as the number 8 of Chuck Winders draws a bead to the outside, moving into turns 3 and 4 as they work out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. Just behind them, some great racing now. George Koch in the number 99 and the number 53 of Joe Williamson Jr. racing together into turns 1 and 2. As we are now looking at Chuck Winders, he has made the pass for 3rd place on Darrell Hadley out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. Off into turns 1 and 2, and the number 53 of Joe Williamson Jr. continues to run at 6th on the field. George Koch goes 7th. A great race back at 8th. Charlie Pierce on the inside of Kevin Gapehart, and they are side by side out of turn 4, and there's trouble up in turns 3 and 4. Scott Heineman in car number 14 spins around, and it looks like Kelly Goodlett in car number 08 losing perhaps a right rear wheel and tire off his machine, and it brings out the red flag. So the red flag coming out at lap number 13. They do not race back to the finish line under red flag race conditions. Scoring reverts back 1 lap. As Kelly Goodlett out of Brooks, Kentucky apparently has lost a right rear wheel assembly off of his machine. And the number 14 of Scott Heineman has spun in between the 3rd and 4th turn area of the speedway. The red flag is out after 12 laps of competition. Chuck Barnes doing an incredible job here tonight, driving in a borrowed race car, a machine he has not driven at all in 1991. It's owned by Tom Seidler. sponsored by Floyd Moore Automotive. And the number 47 of Chuck Barnes has been the leader throughout the first portion of this event. Now, the number 38 of Scott Dewey runs at second, and the number 8 of Chuck Winders has emerged to run inside the top 3. Going fourth on the field, Daryl Hadley in the number 12 car, and Joe Lewis out of Crestwood, Kentucky, inside the top 5 as well.
Get more volume on this dog. You go ahead.
Martin Landscaping Sportsman feature event. And out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway, Chuck Barnes in car number 47, and again driving a race car that is very strange to him. It's normally driven by Tom Seidler. Barnes stepping into the machine and doing quite well here tonight as he leads Scott Dewey, Chuck Winders, Daryl Hadley, and Joe Williamson Jr. down the back straightaway. A 3-car battle for the number 1 spot now out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. Chuck Winders looks to the outside of Scott Dewey, and the battle for the second place spot is on. A simultaneous battle going on back at 4th and 5th between Joe Williamson Jr., who pulls up along the inside of Daryl Hadley. We'll stay with the battle for second right now, and it's Chuck Winders moving into turns 1 and 2, up around the outside of Scott Dewey as they exit turn 2 and down the back straightaway. Chuck Winders turns the Buddy Crisco engine loose as they come out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. Back into turns 1 and 2. A Frederick Auto Supply and Machine Shop racing engine under the hood of car number 47, Chuck Barnes. It's an Auburndale Auto Parts and Machine engine under the 38 of Scott Dewey. And Chuck Barnes has that Buddy Crisco engine. And whoa, the 2 cars make contact here on the front straightaway. And Chuck Barnes buys some of that concrete on the front stretch retaining wall. Down the back straightaway, and again, Winders up along the outside of Scott Dewey as they exit turn number 4. And here comes Joe Williamson Jr. and his Doug Kroger's racing engine under the hood. So it looks like 4 different engine builders represented up front now as they move down into turns 3 and 4 with Chuck Barnes leading lap after lap down the front straightaway and into turns 1 and 2. 19 laps up on the board, and we're about 10 away from a finish here as they scoot down the back straightaway. It's still Chuck Barnes in the Floyd Moore Automotive Racing Chevrolet Camaro, and Chuck right now has a push on his machine, and what that entitles is Winders to pass on the inside because Barnes gives up the inside advantage to Winders. Moving down the back straightaway, and Barnes can hold on to the lead no more as Chuck Winders pulls along the inside and takes over the number 1 spot. Moving down into turns 1 and 2. Now, Scott Dewey will continue to watch that car in front of him, Chuck Barnes, and if he too can make the pass along the inside, you know Scott's going to go for it. Joe Williamson Jr. in car number 53. Does he have enough laps to take the lead? As they click off lap number 22, we're 8 away from a finish. Back into turns 1 and 2, and it's Chuck Winders out front looking for his 5th feature win of the 1991 racing season. 3rd in a row. Down the front straightaway, lap 23 complete, 7 away from a finish, and it has gotten down to 4 principal players here as they exit turn number 2. Joe Williamson Jr. now looking to the inside of Scott Dewey as they work out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. It's going to be all Chuck Winders. We'll have a new top 5 running order here going into turns 1 and 2. The number 99 of George Koch will bring that Thornton's Gas and Food Mart, Banquet Table Buffet, and Collins Automotive Group Racing Camaro into the top 5. Now the battle for second. Scott Dewey has found the inside path on Chuck Barnes just as Chuck Winders did a few laps back. And with less than 5 laps to go, Dewey takes over the number 2 spot. Joe Williamson Jr. now looking to the inside as they exit turn 4 and down the front straightaway and back into turns 1 and 2. Trouble up in turn 4, and it looks like Daryl Hadley and Kevin Gapart got together. Will it bring out the caution flag? Chuck Winders, your leader, out of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. Gapart gets his car back underway, and we avoid a caution flag period with less than 3 laps to go. Down the back straightaway, it's Chuck Winders, and about 3 to 4 car lengths now as they exit turn number 4 and down the front straightaway. 2 away from a finish. It's Winders, then Toohey, Williamson, and the number 47 of Chuck Barnes. Once again, hats off to Chuck Barnes, driving a borrowed race car tonight. Not really familiar with all the controls on the machine, but he led pretty much of this event, and it looks like he's apparently headed for a top 5 finish here tonight. The white flag is out. Less than 1 lap to go. They're scrambling out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway. Our race leader, Chuck Barnes, coming up on some lap traffic, and it could play an important part in this finish as Scott Toohey looks to the outside, but the checkered flag comes out, and Chuck Winders wins his 5th feature win of the 1991 racing season. Across the line at second, it was the number 38 of Scott Toohey, then finishing up at third, the number 53 of Joe Williamson Jr., followed by Chuck Barnes, again driving that borrowed race car, and the number 99 of George Koch.